All right, guys, welcome back to the Make or Break show. We're hanging out with Tyler Bell today, calling in from Seattle, Washington. It looks like you're calling from inside of your shop, inside of your garage, I guess. But man, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with you. Excited to get into the crazy stuff that you make.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So would love to kind of just go through your story for people maybe that aren't familiar with your stuff. I feel like I kept hearing your name pop up a lot with the folks on Making It. So like Bob Claggett and David Picciuto and Jimmy DiResta, especially your home run machine. I think Bob maybe was the one mentioning it. And I was like, this thing is wild. And so I started to dive into it, and it was, you're just making some crazy stuff. So have you always been building cool stuff? Like, is that part of your background?
I've always been tinkering. I've always been handy and wanted to work with my hands and solve problems. But yeah, Legos weren't really my thing, but Bionicles.
Oh, Bionicles. Okay, yeah. Now, were those part of Lego, or was that a different?
I think it's different. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've always been handy. My parents have had rental houses, so I helped renovate those, and we built fences and stuff. But I remember being bored as a kid, like in grade school and middle school in the summer, and asking my dad if he could take me to Home Depot just so I can look around and, see. Because back then I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what materials were possible to make with and stuff. So I just wanted to go look around.
That's cool. What were some of the early stuff do you remember building that weren't, I guess, Bionicles?
Basically, I tried making a crossbow out of wood. Just went out to the shop real young and started cutting wood and cutting bungee cords and stuff. And then in middle school, I made a potato gun, and I used a 4-inch, I think it's clean cap, like a thread-on cap on the back end of the chamber. And so I tested it a couple times, and I brought my family out into the backyard to watch them. And I was maybe 6th or 7th grade. And apparently it had started cracking after a few tests. And so the one time my family is standing there watching, just totally explodes and a ball of fire shoots out. And that was the end of that. But anyways, I didn't really make anything later or after that until when I was about 17, and I bought my first car, which is a 64 GMC.
Oh, cool. So were your parents, did they make stuff? Like, you mentioned that you had a shop space. Like, what'd your parents do?
I didn't really have a shop space growing up, and we had some simple, DIY tools around the house. But my dad is an aerospace engineer. My stepdad is a mechanical engineer, both for Boeing. And we did house projects and built some fences and cut down trees and stuff like that. But
so you were
just the basics.
Yeah, you were used to being around people who enjoyed making things, whether it's on the computer or in real life. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, aerospace. That was my major. I never actually did it, but I loved everything. I still love everything with planes. So, awesome. But so you're at Boeing now, then, right?
I am. Yeah.
So what did you go to college for?
I don't have a 4-year degree. Okay. I graduated high school with an associate's degree.
Oh, wow.
Went through a special program. And then I worked a year at Jiffy Lube, and I went to a aerospace manufacturing program, just a short 12-week deal. And then that helped me get into Boeing. And so I've been in manufacturing for the last 3 years. This month, I recently switched out of production, and I'm working in a special projects shop. It's called the Moonshine Shop. It's kind of a long story behind the name, but we do all sorts of prototyping and problem solving to help support production.
Oh, cool. So what does a day-to-day look like? Is it a lot of computer work, a lot of engineering stuff there, or are you getting your hands dirty, doing stuff too?
It's the Moonshine Shop is really cool. I get to meet with the customer, internal customer, the person that has a problem. I get to assess the problem, and then basically I get to draw and design and then prototype and deliver the part to them. So I get to cover all the bases of the problem solving process from design to making the end product.
That's cool. Really I'm sure you can't go into specifics, but what's an example? Will someone say my wing broke on my airplane? Like, or I mean, I'm sure it's like way smaller than that, but like, what's kind of like a typical thing that you have to deal with?
So the stuff we do is we don't prototype parts for the airplane, but we prototype like tools or ergonomic solutions or safety solutions or carts or stands, scaffolding. We do have a lot of 3D printing in that shop, so
cool.
Stuff like that.
So what are you using to model parts?
Model parts. We don't do any CAD for the unless it's the 3D parts, but basically just a lot of aluminum and Delrin and plywood, polycarbonate, stuff like that.
Sweet. So are you coming up with a 3D model at all, even though you're not doing CAD, or is it all just stuff like you're just working in the real world?
Just in sketch and sketch it out on the material and go from there.
That's cool. So do you have like big milling machines, or is it a lot of like hand stuff?
We if we need something machined or welded, we have to go down the aisle and have the weld shop or machine shop do some stuff for us, but we have access to all the tools we need. That's
cool. Is it I'm sure there's union stuff there, right?
Yeah.
Boeing? Okay. I worked at General Electric for a little bit when I was in college, aircraft engines. And so it was like it was all computer stuff I would look at. And then there was one rotation I did where there was like this little shop where you could actually get hands on. And that was totally my favorite thing. Like I was like neck deep in like an afterburner, putting like a little sensor or something on, something dumb. But it was so cool. It sounds like it's cool. You get to get hands on instead of just not working with your hands. So that's your day job, but you still like to build stuff when you're coming home around the weekends too?
Yeah. Any spare moment I have.
That's cool. Why do you think you have that itch to make?
I think it comes down to solving problems and being curious and wanting to learn. I have a lifelong goal to get my craft to the point where you can hand me any material and a problem and I can make a solution.
That's cool.
So I'm a generalist.
Yeah. When you are like learning something, like are you going to YouTube, or like how are you like building your skills? Because when I was looking through your channel, I think it was real cool. So I was just expecting, I guess, just some woodworking stuff, but I mean, you're pulling out welding, you're doing electronic stuff, you're doing like pneumatic things. I don't know how they work. Like how do you like just develop your skills?
YouTube is a big part of it. YouTube and Instagram and observing other people building stuff. The pneumatics thing was something I just picked up this summer. I wanted to learn pneumatics and I didn't have a project in mind. So basically I just tried to think of some crazy use that a pneumatic cylinder could be used for. And I came up with a pneumatic over-engineered bottle opener. That was my first experience with pneumatics.
Yeah. That thing was, I've seen people do over-engineered bottle openers before, but that one I think might have taken the cake on.
Oh man,
that could like kill somebody. It looks super crazy. So that's neat. So are you working out of? You said so. Kind of give people an idea of what your shop space looks like.
Yeah, I'm with my parents, and they're very gracious to give me one stall of their 2-car garage. So I have a 10 by 20 space roughly. Yeah. What
kind of tools? Like what's kind of the setup?
The setup, the main tools, like a little Ryobi table saw, a portaband, a small welder, drill press, and a chop saw. Love my portaband. That thing's amazing. But yeah, those are the big hitters.
Okay, so what's a portaband?
Oh yeah, it's a portable bandsaw. The little small ones for cutting conduit and stuff on job sites.
Yeah. Where it's almost like a circle just with almost like a hand. Yeah.
Handheld, yeah, exactly.
It's like what you would want in a horror movie to kill somebody with. It's like whenever I see one, that's what that reminds me of. So where do your project ideas come from? So you said the pneumatic cylinder sounds like you wanted to learn about the cylinder, so you came up with a crazy idea. But like, how do your other ideas come to you?
Yeah, it's usually I want to learn a new process or a new system like pneumatics, or I want to learn how to use a new tool or material. My home run machine, that came from a Mythbusters episode back in like 2006. I grew up watching, and they made a a sword machine that swung a samurai sword, and they tried cutting other swords in half. So I've always wanted to build that machine since I saw it when I was like 9 or something, and so couldn't really find a good use case for putting a sword on it. So instead I put a baseball bat on it and came up with the whole story of the home run machine.
That's cool. That's neat. How did you go about designing that? Like, what's I guess we can use that one as a good example. Like, walk us through kind of the process from idea to when you actually started building it.
Yeah, well, first I since I knew I was going off a machine that already existed on MythBusters for this one, I just started with a bunch of screenshots. And then I didn't really have any measurements to work with off their screenshots, so I knew I needed a pneumatic cylinder, and I knew it was going to pull a chain that wrapped around a post, and I knew I needed a tube steel frame that kind of supported that, so I needed some flange bearings, and I spec'd just by eyeballing it the kind of hardware I'd need, and then just built a frame around the size parts I had. Kind of went from there.
So you were literally taking basically the build that you saw from MythBusters and just kind of reverse engineered that.
Yeah, from pictures. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of my mechanical projects, like the bottle opener, my mechanical coat rack, or the home run machine, I could easily solve those on paper,
right?
Like before you even cut material. And I think this is part of, other than the lack of schooling, this is part of what makes me not an engineer, is like I could easily solve them on paper before I start, but that just wouldn't be as fun for me. I'd rather just jump in and start cutting material. And like the most math I did on the home run machine was, I knew I was going to run a max of 140 psi out of my compressor, a little pancake compressor. I had a 3-inch bore pneumatic cylinder, and it roughly came out to be like about 1,000 pounds of pull. I was like, well, 1,000 pounds sounds like a big number. It ought to be enough, but it wasn't. It was not enough. So I ended up adding a garage door torsion spring. That didn't really add any power, and I ended up just adding a whole second pneumatic cylinder. And I could have saved me all that headache, a couple weeks of work, if I just solved it on paper. But it was the journey was fun.
Yeah. So how many revisions? Was it 3 then? Kind of 3 different designs you went through?
Yeah. That one, the home run machine, it was about 3 revisions.
That's cool.
One, I started with 1 cylinder and then the spring and a second cylinder and adding a counterweight and
it was just because you saw that on MythBusters, it sounds like, like, I want to build something crazy too.
Yeah, that machine caught my eye. I just liked how it worked.
That's how I feel like everything good starts, is you just see something crazy and you want to make it.
Yeah.
So I talked to some folks that are in more of like the prop making world, and it sounds like the way that you approach the mechanics of something is like how people approach props. Like I love Star Wars, so I've been watching like The Mandalorian, and so people are doing screen grabs, doing all different stuff from that, and it's like you're literally doing that, but then you're building something that can do something out of it, which is a whole nother level, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've been trying to jump into more mechanical moving part projects.
Yeah, it just seems like a whole nother world. So the welding piece then, was that something you had access to growing up as well, or was that something that came a little bit later?
No, that came much later. I've had a welder maybe 2 years now, and yeah, I've about almost like 90% of the projects I've done since I got the welder have included welding. I just jumped in.
Yeah. What welder do you have?
I have the Lincoln Handy MIG. It's, I think, the smallest MIG welder they make.
Okay, cool.
You can get it from Home Depot.
Yeah, that I've walked past that one many times, and I wanted to pick it up. Welding is the one thing I really want to add to my shop. I just haven't gotten into. I did a little bit of training on one, and like once someone showed me how to do it, like it's so much faster than woodworking or anything else. It feels like magic or cheating, like how strong stuff can get and how quickly you can get stuff knocked out.
Exactly.
That's cool. So how far? What was the longest that you were able to do a baseball with your home run machine?
Home run machine. Well, I kind of cheated at the end. I used a lacrosse ball just for fun, and so they're like solid rubber. So that thing went easily 350 plus, 350 feet. It was awesome.
Yeah. It's like you're golfing instead of doing baseball.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, with a baseball, I hit several, like within a 20-foot radius at around 310 feet.
That's wild. Were you doing this in public? Like I look at it, it looks like you're kind of in a park. Like did you have like weird reactions from people? Like what is it over there?
It was like a Monday morning, so there wasn't anyone around. But yeah, it was definitely a public park. We just packed it up in the truck and went down and went for it.
That's cool. So what made you decide to film not just that project, but also on YouTube? Like why have you gone through that whole process of filming and putting all that stuff out? Because that's a whole new beast to put together.
Yeah. When I first found the maker community, I think in like 2017, I spent like the first year and a half consuming content, and I was making stuff on my own at home too. And I figured, why not just give it a shot and share it with people? Maybe I had a message to share and a value to offer.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you gotten feedback, like as you're going through your designs? Like what's that kind of interaction with the community like once you start putting stuff out there?
Yeah, that's why I like Instagram stories so much. Is I do a kind of in-depth walkthrough while I'm building it in the moment on my stories, and I get lots of feedback and an awesome conversation there with people and giving tips and feedback and where to buy parts and stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah, the feedback, especially Instagram story, it's so fast that you can get really cool feedback from folks. And a lot of times, what was I doing the other day? Oh, I was lasering PLA, so like 3D printing PLA, which apparently makes like mustard gas or like something like chlorine gas or something. So they're like, please don't do that. You're gonna kill yourself. So that was good to know.
That's helpful.
Yeah, very, very helpful for people that do want to follow, especially your stories. It's Tyler Bell Makes. Is that right? Is that your Instagram handle?
On Instagram. Yeah.
Cool. And is it just Tyler Bell on YouTube?
Yep, Tyler Bell is the brand. It's just taken on Instagram. So
got it. Yeah, I think I had looked up other Tyler Bell, and I'm like, I don't think this is him because they're not building anything. This guy's just talking to camera. So some of the other builds you've done, do you have like? Are you shooting to get like a new project out like once a month? Like, do you have a schedule, or is it just kind of whenever you've got something to build, you work on it?
I'm putting out projects as fast as I can, but they're done whenever they're done. And right now, it's been about every month and a half. Like I was looking back the other day, about 7 or 8 YouTube videos, which at that rate, I'm going nowhere in a hurry. So next year for 2020, I'm shooting on upping the quantity, but keeping the quality the same, which to do that, I'm going to have to cut back on the complexity of the project. So I'm trying to do some shorter, quick turnaround projects.
What type of projects does that lead you towards? Because you said you do like mechanical stuff. So like, can you do smaller mechanical things?
I could. I think I'll have to cut back on the like. Well, I was planning on at least doing one larger scale project, like the home run machine was probably the largest project I've done so far throughout the year. But some smaller ones, like up next, I've got an old dentist lamp that I'm converting to an LED panel, and it's going to mount above my workbench.
Yeah.
Be pretty handy.
So what's a dentist lamp?
Dentist lamp, like when you're sitting in the chair at the dentist office, they grab it and they can swivel it around. It's kind of like your microphone stand, but it stays wherever you put it.
Got it. Yeah,
like a boom arm.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that would be great on a stand, because I've seen. I guess speaking of Mythbusters, so Adam Savage did his like little, was almost like little weird piping things.
Oh yeah, the lock line.
The lock line. Yeah. But that just felt like, because he had to put like a metal armature inside of it to keep it strong enough. But yeah, like a boom arm like this would make a lot of sense for an LED light. That'd be real cool.
Yeah, it'll be handy.
Do you just come across this stuff randomly? Like, I feel like you use some random stuff in your builds.
Yeah, the lamp was from a friend. He just had it laying around and thought I could use it, but yeah.
That's cool. That's crazy. So going to looking at some of your other builds, there is one I saw. I guess it was the steel logo, the backlit sign. And before I even read the title, I read, or I guess before I saw the text, I was like, oh, he must have like a plasma CNC cutter, until I saw this text that said no CNC. Like, do you do like any automated, those type tools, or is it still mostly hands-on stuff?
Everything in my shop is just, I don't have any CNC in my shop. I don't have a milling machine or lathe either, even manual, but
Yeah.
it's all mostly handwork, hand filing and stuff.
Yeah. In your day job, it sounds like even those tools then aren't automated. Like, it's still all hands-on stuff too.
We can outsource that if we need to. There's shops in the factory we can use, but
Yeah.
most of the time it's all hand built, because we're doing, small batches of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. What does working at Boeing, like, does that give you a different perspective when you're looking at something that big when you go to your builds? Like, do you do things differently because you've got like experience there?
Yeah, there are things that I've learned there, mostly learned from the aircraft structures work. Like, I used to work on the 777. I used to do body structures. So basically I was building the fuselage, like the bones of it,
Cool.
the frames and the skin panels and big fittings and stuff. So there's a lot of close tolerance holes that you drill by hand to, like, a couple degrees of angle variation and stuff. And you got to drill really straight holes by hand. So there's like, lots of like very tight tolerance and hole layout and stuff.
So it sounds like the extreme tolerances at Boeing, that was something that you found beneficial.
Yeah, it's something that I've learned. Like I was talking about this in my stories the other day. Like, even if you lay out a symmetrical hole pattern on a part, or you're drilling it a common to two parts, with the bit walking and stuff, if you want those holes, like if you're going to tap into one of the plates, and that whole pattern needs to be exact. Even if that pattern is symmetrical and you flip it over once you've drilled it, the holes will be off a few thousandths and it'll affect you. So I like to part mark either with Sharpie, or like I'll make a detent, like a center punch mark in the upper right hand corner, we'll say, on all the like top faces of all the parts. So when I stack them up together, they line up.
That's cool.
So lots of tedious part marking and stuff like that is something I've learned.
Yeah, yeah. I never even would have thought about, like, I would have thought you'd be able to flip it over and you'd be fine. But that makes sense. You'd have to do something like that. That's crazy. What type of tolerances did you have to work with at Boeing?
I don't know how to answer that without reading the spec, so maybe we'll gloss over that.
Okay, well, so how about when you're doing your own builds? Like, when you talk about tolerances, like, what is not good enough for you especially when you're working with metal and you're doing stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm not as tight toleranced as like the stuff I build isn't near the tolerance that I work on with aircraft, so maybe not the tolerances apply in what I build at home, but just the mindset of being maybe exact and methodical about laying out parts and hole patterns and dimensioning and stuff.
Yeah, that's something I'm horrible at. I will just, because I mean most of my stuff is wood, so I'm like, I'll just fill that up with like wood glue and sawdust later. I'm like, forget it. But yeah, getting it right the first time, or like when you're talking about drilling holes in something, like I just go straight to, I'm just going to use my CNC versus having the actual skills to be able to do it by hand, and you probably would do it better anyway. That's cool. So what you said 2020, it sounds like you're going to be doing some smaller builds, but you are wanting to do bigger builds. So are there things out there, like project ideas, that you like want to tackle, or that you see coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, I've got a vision for like it's ridiculous, but it's like it'd be like the world's fastest curtains. So it'd be like pneumatic cylinders attached to the curtain rod, and you like use a clap on, and then there's like a pneumatic cylinder parked behind the couch, or a pressure tank, and it fires these cylinders with a really long stroke and closes the curtains in like the blink of an eye.
That's crazy, and it would sound incredible, and it would scare the crap out of people.
Totally, that'd be part of the fun.
You could almost build that into like a burglar, like alarm system or something.
Oh yeah, like metal shutters, and they get locked in. There's sirens, and
that's what I'm thinking of. It's like what's the movie, the horror movie where they're shoot. Where they're trying, like, you can kill somebody on one day a year. Forget.
Oh, The Purge.
The Purge, yeah. And so, like, I think it was like the very first one where they had the security things and like everything locks down. And, like, that's what that makes me think.
That's funny you think of The Purge. I was thinking more Monsters Inc., but same thing applies.
Hey, I love Pixar way more. I think The Purge is the only horror movie I've seen. So, when they come in and lock it down because Boo gets out, that makes sense. That's
exactly.
That's cool. So, like, something like that, where does that idea come from?
You know what? I don't know. I'm not sure where that one came from. That I don't know. That was back when I came up with that when I was trying to think of excuses to use pneumatic cylinders. I was just thinking of ridiculous things that no one would ever use them in the right mind for.
Yeah. Where do you source stuff like that, like pneumatic cylinders and like those more mechanical pieces from?
I spec'd the part numbers I needed from Bimba. There's a manufacturer called Bimba. They make pretty high quality stuff, and I just found them on eBay.
Oh, cool.
People buy probably bulk stuff from surplus and then sell it.
Yeah, that's sweet. So when you do have ideas, like, do you have a system of like writing them down or like keeping them for the future, or you just kind of have stuff that will rattle around in your head for a while?
No, I make tons of lists, and I use Trello for my project ideas and stuff. I've got cards for different types of ideas.
Yeah. Trello's a ton of fun. I use it a little bit for that type of stuff. That's cool. How many cards do you have in there, like, right now, if you had to guess?
Cards. Like, of individual ideas?
Yeah, just like how many potential project ideas do you think are out there?
Like actually doable ones, probably a couple dozen.
Okay. So, all right, I love that you qualified that with actual doable ones. Like, what is your craziest one that you have in there right now?
Oh boy. I wanted to put like a bunch of model rocket engines on one of those hoverboards that kids use.
Yes. Okay.
But then I figured that wouldn't work because it would just it'd be like the equivalent of trying to coast down a hill. Like, it would brake for you.
Yeah.
So I wrote that one off. That was pretty wild.
Do you have any other project ideas on the model rocket side of things, like with those engines?
Oh yeah, I wanted to. Not necessarily with model rockets. I do want to do stuff with rockets, but I don't have the capability to get anything larger than a model rocket yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to do like a rocket-assisted trebuchet. Like, instead of a big counterweight, it'd just be like rockets. You preload it, you pull a string, and then it goes.
That would look amazing as well on video. That would look. How? So going back to YouTube for a second. How do you approach your builds differently, knowing that you're going to want to capture it? Like, not just for Instagram stories, because that's a little more kind of in the moment, but like, I guess more formally with a camera. Like, do you think about it differently, or do you still find yourself building kind of in the same way?
Yeah, I've been trying to focus more on storytelling the last few videos. Like, I want to make that a big pillar of my videos. So yeah, I've been trying to incorporate some more like editing magic tricks and maybe some skits and dumb jokes, and those all kind of are stuff I think about. And I'll write short scripts every now and then of bullet points and things I want to do or mention or talk about and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, they are. The videos are awesome.
Appreciate it.
Just because it looks like you haven't been on super long, right?
No, just a year and a half.
Okay, yeah. But especially even this last one, I was like, man, this is really polished. This is way more polished than what folks mostly or usually are after just like a year doing stuff.
I appreciate it.
And then the builds are just crazy on top of all of that. So.
I appreciate it. I do have to give some credit. A couple of my videos have been shot by my friend Edward Lee Films. He does an excellent job. He's a professional freelance videographer.
Oh, okay. That makes, I mean, not more sense, but that definitely helps having another person. Yeah. You can actually like have the camera move, and it's not just on a drive-by the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It looks way cooler.
it feels different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time and chatting. And if folks don't know, we've been dropping out here a little bit, so thank you for putting up with that. But for people that do want to follow along, I think we mentioned it earlier, but you said Tyler Bell Mix on Instagram and then Tyler Bell on YouTube. Any other places you would send people?
That's it. Just Tyler Bell on YouTube would be the big one I'd send people to.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time and chatting with us. It's really cool to see what you're making. So
yeah, thanks for having me. It's been rad.
Yeah, totally, man.